What's up, Wizards? It's Dev. Mtg. We're down there. We're liking the magic. We got some Tuesday Watts spoilers for you. You knew that, right? It's a pretty light day of spoilers. Only 7 or 8 cards I got to show you today, but some of them are just whew. So, with that said, let's go ahead and sort through the chaff and get to the good stuff. Let's look at Storm the Citadel first. This has really good art and is a sweet story moment, but aside from that, there's really not much going on with this card. It's 5 mana, 4 and a green for a sorcery. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +2/+2 in game whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker. Destroy target artifact or enchantment the defending player controls. Well, this is another limited stall breaker, maybe, and I think some people might try to make it work on the commander table, but I don't think it's quite good enough for there either. Really, this is just really awesome art, awesome story moment, and Ajani saying some very Ajani flavor text there, but I think we can actually move on to probably the next most impactful card here, and that is a card that actually looks insane. That's Finale of Revelation. This is 2 blue mana and X. It's the blue finale for a sorcery. Draw X cards. If X is 10 or more, instead, shuffle your graveyard into your library. Draw X cards. Untap up to 5 lands, and you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Jeez. Exile Finale of Revelation. I can't even say things. One of my old school favorites, Brain Geyser, is back, sort of. You can't really target your opponent with this spell, but it's fine. It's fine. You know, I actually think there is a kind of, sort of playable, like, Tier 2 mill deck shaping up in the format, and this would have been a part of it if it let you target your opponent, but whatever, who cares? I still like the card a good bit. Now, with the red finale, the first one that we saw, I felt like that is a fine card if you don't get to 10. As a matter of fact, it's often a really good card if you don't get to X equals 10. But with this card, I feel like you kind of have to get to X equals 10 to make it worth it, you know? Like paying 4 mana to draw 2 cards or 5 mana to draw 3. Well, 5 mana to draw 3 ain't bad. And then 6 mana to draw 4 isn't bad either. But we're talking about sorcery speed here. So I doubt a lot of decks are going to want an effect like this unless they can get to X equals 10. And then we're talking, you know, and there's ways to do it in this format. Treasure Map is one way to ramp a little bit, but we've also got like Azor's Gateway, and if you really want to get crazy, we got like Storm the Vaults and a few other ways. I guess the one everyone's talking about, if you just go Teferi into the 3 mana Teferi from this set into Wilderness Reclamation, then it becomes pretty easy to cast this at instant speed for X equals 10, at which point, like, you don't win the game outright, but you're in a really, really good position. And really, I'm just talking about standard here. Like, this is probably a commander card where it's a lot easier to make all the mana that you need, and you got all the good mana rocks and stuff. You get Soul Ring and whatever. Like, it's just a lot easier to make mana in that format. And there have even some people been talking about Tron today, but it's not a Tron card. Like, I would stake some money on that. $5. It's not a Tron card. But again, in Commander, that's probably where this card has like the majority of its shine. You know, I would imagine that's the format that this card and a bunch of other cards from today are more or less designed for. You know, there are ways you can hit it in Standard. I can't wait to try it out on the Commander table where it's a little bit more realistic of a vision. Yes, I do like and play Commander occasionally. But anyway, speaking of Commander, here's Casualties of War right here. It's 2 black, and 2 green, 6 total mana for a sorcery. Choose 1 or more. You can choose all of them if you want to. Destroy target artifact, destroy target creature, destroy target enchantment, destroy target land, destroy target planeswalker. So this is kind of just like 6 mana destroy target permanent. Or occasionally multiple permanents. Just know that that's like all the permanent types. Oh, bless you, buddy. But in any case, again in Commander, 6 mana isn't quite as much as it is in more competitive formats, obviously. And you'll have a much wider spread of options when you're playing Commander too. You're playing against more people, so it's very likely you can actually use every single mode on this card, at which point 6 mana becomes a pretty good rate to blow up like a billion things. Like a 4-for-1 or something. If you use all the modes, it's pretty decent. But let's take a look at Soul Diviner. This is smack dab in the middle of the video because, and I'm using my words very carefully here, remember this first part of the statement, although I do think this card has a good chance of being impactful, just remember that statement, I'm probably not as high on it as a lot of other people judging this set are. That doesn't mean I hate the card. Just remember that initial statement. But anyway, Soul Diviner is 2 mana, a blue and a black for a 2/3 zombie wizard. And you can tap it and remove a counter from an artifact, creature, land, or planeswalker you control to draw a card. Now, is tap draw a card good? Yeah, it's really good. Is that what this card is? No. Nope. Just like Ziggy here, it has to feed. And there's some opportunity cost to this, you know? You actually have to have a lot of different ways of enabling this. Now, I will say, though, even if you don't have it enabled the turn you play it, you know, you don't have something with a counter on it on turn 1. But even if you don't have a way to enable it, on turn 2, it's a 2 mana, 2/3, at least decent fat stats, resistant to shock, moment of craving, and stuff like that. And it's got a pretty good creature type in both types. Both zombie and wizard are relevant in the upcoming standard. Honestly, being able to cast Wizard's Retort for 2 mana off of this is probably a big deal, depending on what you're doing. But we'll see. I don't know if like blue-black zombie tempo is actually a thing. We'll see. But still, I do like this card. Let me just reiterate. The stats are there. The creature types are there. It's pretty good, you know, aggressive rate for what you're actually getting. And if you can tap it to draw a card, it's buku, you know. But if you're taking a +1/+1 counter off of a creature, then you are, you know, exchanging power on the battlefield for an unknown card. And although drawing a card is one of the most powerful things you can do in our game, I still think that you're getting into, in some cases, kind of a what's in the box situation. You know, it could even be a boat. Then you're exchanging a real known resource for, again, a complete unknown. And I think that in a lot of cases, it's going to be more than worth it to do that, especially if you have like planeswalkers that can +2, for instance. I think it'll be quite worth it. And well, there's a land we'll talk about later. This goes very well with. Don't think that is lost on me. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. But maybe it's more consistent to enable this than I currently think it is. You know, we've got the amass mechanic in standard. We've got plenty of ways to put counters on creatures. Tons of planeswalkers at this point. A land that gets a counter. You know, we've got artifacts that get counters, charge counters like Magistrate's Scepter if you want to do that. But there's plenty of other tricks just in standard for a card like this. So again, it might be way easier to enable than I'm giving it credit for, but still, it's kind of one of those things that like a month or 2 from now, we'll look at the top tables of standard, we'll see what's going on, and we'll see if we see this card, because I'm actually not 100% convinced that even though it is pushed in terms of power level, that it's quite there in terms of like top tier competitive playability. But again, we'll see. But up next is Oath of Kaya. Yeah, Oath of Kaya. She's in some reason she's in the Gatewatch. It's 3 mana, 1, a black, and a white for a legendary enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, Lightning Helix. It deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. That's fine. And whenever an opponent attacks a planeswalker you control with 1 or more creatures, Oath of Kaya deals 2 damage to that player and you gain 2 life. See, now we're getting into some stuff that I really, really like. I'm a big fan of this card. And, you know, again, just like the last card, even though I like it, I'm trying to be realistic and objective and not, like, assume that it's going to be in the, you know, 3 different top 8 decks a month or 2 from now. I really, really doubt it. Even though this is, you know, 3 mana Lightning Helix, which seems like a good deal, you know, like Mardu Burn with planeswalkers, anybody? Like Jaya and Chandra. It seems nice, but it also seems really janky, you know. Although, little curve there, you know, you get Oath of Kaya, and then turn 3 or turn 4 you get Chandra, turn 5 you get Jaya. Like, yeah, you know, it could work, but I doubt it. Just a pipe dream for the most part. It seems really, really janky. Hard to protect the planeswalkers, but this kind of protects your planeswalkers. Makes your opponent think twice about swinging in, you know. Gives you a life buffer, which you're kind of already getting because your opponent is forced to swing into your planeswalkers instead of you. So this gives you even more of a life buffer. Hurts your opponent, too. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. This actually seems like a pretty decent card despite the sorcery speed and the legendary caveat. I actually don't mind playing a copy on top of a copy because you just get the Lightning Helix effect again. And it's really wide, you know. You'd expect this to say, like, to target creature or planeswalker, but it's any target. So you can hit your opponent in the face with this if you want to. Gain a little bit of life back. This seems insanely good against aggro, you know. Imagine a turn where, you know, on turn 2, they swing into you Moment of Craving a guy and kill it, gain 2 life back. And then turn 3, you follow up with Oath of Kaya, and you kill another guy, gain another 3 life. There's just not really much coming back from that for a lot of aggro decks. And I've already said that I think aggro still looks really, really good in the upcoming format. I'm a little bit concerned about that. I think this card actually helps bridge the gap a little bit, and I hope that theory proves true. Plus, I'm just really interested in, like, blinking or bouncing this enchantment with, like, Blink of an Eye. You could do that, or Teferi's Time Twist. You could do that as well. You could do the Time Twist again. It's just a jump to the left. And play your Oath of Kaya again. Suddenly, you got soup going at this point. So, I like this card a lot. Again, I'm trying to be objective about it, but if it does help you know, sort of stem the tide of aggro decks in Standard, then I think it will definitely have a place. I don't think it pushes Esper, you know, too much, because I don't know that Esper wants to play a 3-mana sorcery speed card like this. I really don't. Even though Esper does play both Kaya and Teferi at the top of its curve, I'm not seeing it in Esper. I don't know that Esper actually wants this. But, you know, a more sort of tap-out mid-range deck might really like this as a turn 3 option. So I'm a big fan of both, and I hope it sees the play I want it to. Let me just put it that way. But I guess you could say exactly that about this next card too. Big fan of it, hope it sees play, not 100% sure, but this is Bioessence Hydra. 5 mana, 3, a green, and a blue for a 4/4 Hydra mutant with trample. And it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each loyalty counter on planeswalkers you control. And whenever one or more loyalty counters are put on planeswalkers you control, you put that many +1/+1 counters on Bioessence Hydra. Where's the X in its casting cost? It's weird to have a Hydra that doesn't cost X. I know it's happened before, I think, but still, it's just one of the first things I notice. But still, the spike side of me too says no. I know it looks like I'm being hard on cards, but like you have to. You have to be objective. So the spike side of me says no, it's probably not too playable. But the Timmy side wants this card like right now, and I am really excited about it. You can tell because I put it pretty late in the video. These are usually, you know, the order I go in is a measure of how excited I am about certain cards. And even though I do want to temper my expectations for this card a little bit, there are just too many, like, kind of good arguments for the Timmy side in the form of like crazy interactions and curves that you can get into. Like my favorite thing, I've actually got a bunch of stuff written down here. I'm gonna give myself some editing to do. But my favorite thing to do is Kiora. Just like turn 3 Kiora, and then turn 4 you can ramp into this with Kiora, and suddenly you got a 10/10 and you draw a card. 10/10 trample, and you draw a card on turn 4. That seems good. You can actually do this on turn 3 if you got an elf on turn 1, which is going to be the case for a lot of these cards. That's the only time I'm going to say that, but just keep in mind you can back these up by a turn if you get a turn 1 Lionel elves. But anyway, another good thing to do is Samut. 4 mana Samut from this set. You know, on turn 5 or again possibly even turn 4, you get a 9/9 haste. Huh, that seems good. Right? Watley, that just got spoiled the other day. You can get like an 11/11. I mean, just like Kiora, a 7 loyalty planeswalker for 3 mana. That goes really well with this card. You can get an 11/11, usually on turn 5. And then you can gain 11 life through Watley. Now, do notice that all of these like little interactions and combos with planeswalkers up under the curve from the Hydra, they all require that your planeswalkers don't die or get attacked into, and they minus loyalty or whatever. So just keep that in mind, but still, I want to point some of these things out. Domery, both Domerys that we have in Standard, as a matter of fact. The 3 mana Domery from this set will give you a 10/9 uncounterable turn 4 Hydra. Seems fine. But then even 4 mana Domery will give you like an 11/11 Riot. That's also good, right? Just give it haste and swing 11. I guess Vivian is a good one. The 3 mana Vivian from this set. Because you can get like a 10 plus power really easily out of this and flash it in. The end of your opponent's turn, play it. Or even as a removal spell during the combat step, play it, kill something, Hydra survives, you know. And just keep plussing Vivian from then on. It just seems crazy. And giving your Hydra like reach and vigilance and stuff aside from the trample. But there's other dumb stuff like Sorin. I don't really know how you're doing the mana here, you know, it's like 4 colors, but I guess it's at least possible to Sorin on turn 4 and to this onto turn 5 and get like a 12/12 lifelink on your turn. That seems great with trample. It's awesome. And then finally, the last thing I have written down here is Kasmina, because you can get on turn 5 like a 9/9 that's difficult to kill because of your Kasmina. So that's just some interactions with planeswalkers in this format. Oh, actually, there's a couple more. There are a couple more. Even more editing for me. Karn. Turn 4 Karn into, you know, turn 5, this actually seems great because Karn's just drawing you cards. And then this works off of, you know, Karn getting bigger and bigger. So I like that just as it's not even really an interaction. You know, it's just, I like the way the cards play on curve together. But there's also 4 mana Watley. From feels like back in the day, you know, from Ixalan block at this point. It seemed forever ago. But 4 mana Watley, the sky is the limit in terms of like how big this creature can actually be with Watley. So I like this. I think I've made that perfectly clear at this point. But again, I'm trying to be objective, and I don't know how much Standard play, you know, a 5 mana creature that doesn't really have any enter the battlefield benefit other than the counters that it gets. You got to wait a turn to even swing with it, and it doesn't really do anything besides swing, unless you've got, you know, something to set up value alongside it, like Kiora, Sorin, whatever, Samut to give it haste, you know. So I think that I don't... And there's probably better 5-mana plays. Like, we just saw all these gods. They're all 5 mana. We already had good 5-mana plays like Skark and Hellkite and Siege Gang Commander and stuff. So I'm just not 100% right. But at the same time, the card is dope. You know, like, would I rather play this or Biogenic Ooze in the 5 slot? That's a really, really good question. But I'm more analyzing how dope I freaking think the card is than I am playability at this point. And I think the card is very DOPE, but... I just cannot go out on a limb and say, like, this is guaranteed to see standard play, even with some of the ridiculous garbage you can do with it. But last card of the day here, let's talk about Blast Zone, finally. This card got leaked a few days ago, and I've been wanting to talk about it the whole time. I'm very excited about this card because I think it looks absolutely ridiculous. Blast Zone is a land. It enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it. You tap, you add a colorless. Or you can pay 2x and tap it to put X charge counters on it. So you pay 2, you get a charge counter. You pay 4, you get 2 charge counters, so forth and so on. Pay 3, tap it, and sacrifice it to destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Blast Zone. What were they thinking? Like, to me, this is, and this I am going to go out on a limb and say this. This is probably fairly controversial as far as our little community goes. But I think this might be like slam dunk best card in the set. Period. In terms of not just standard playability, which I think it has some of, that's actually not what I'm excited about the most. I think that there's the chance that older formats want this card, but definitely Commander. This is Commander playable in literally every single Commander deck that will ever be built until the end of time. It's a land, absolutely zero opportunity. We've been talking about opportunity cost a lot in this video. Very, 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 very little opportunity cost to put this in your deck, especially in monocolored decks that already have most of the mana they need anyway. This is just an easy include, and it gives, you know, colors that usually don't have access to removal like blue or green or blue-green. Access to some pretty good removal, like Mono Blue Control or something, with this and like the spell that turns a creature into a 1/1 frog. We just saw that the other day. Actually seems like a pretty decent like removal suite, quote unquote. And it's crazy with like Proliferate. You can put counters on it really fast and then kill big stuff. Note that it doesn't kill anything, you know, it's not, you know, X or less. You know, it only kills exactly the things with CMC equal to the charge counters on it. You know, this is a land. It's a land. Like, it can't be countered. Yes, I know the activation can be countered. We have Repudiate in Standard. There's Stifle and Void Slime and all that. Don't be a smart aleck. I know it can be countered, but lands can't be countered. So just, that's the number one thing I've seen. I hate to go off on a tangent today, but I've seen like 2 people say like, oh, it can't be countered. And then some jerk has to be like, oh, Stifle. Like, yeah, we know it exists. Lands can't be countered. Sorry, I snapped there for a second. I hate that take on like this or that can't be countered. Oh, yes, Stifle. It's like, yeah, we know. Ugh, anyway. Sorry, back to my good-natured self. This card is just, it's crazy. Like, I don't even know what else to say. Like, you know, Soul Diviner that we talked about earlier? Yeah, this is the card that goes with it. You can use Soul Diviner to take the counter off of it and then blow up tokens. The one, you know, disadvantage this has over a card like Engineered Explosives is explosives can just pop for 0 and kill all the tokens, whereas this specifically cannot do that. It's been designed in such a way that it can't blow up tokens like immediately. But it's pretty easy to take the counter off of it if you do have a Soul Diviner. But even if you don't, you know, it's just going to blow up all the 1, 2, or 3 drops pretty easily. And if you can get to a point in the game where, you know, you've held off against aggro and you can actually blow up all of their, you know, aspirants and stuff, you know, their Dauntless Bodyguards and whatnot, or you can blow up all their 3 drops, you know, blow up, you know, Nalish Marshal, whatever. Then this seems good. Same thing is true against pretty much any aggro deck in the format. This looks great, but if you hold off long enough against mid-range decks, you can blow up all their 3, 4, and 5 drops too. It's just crazy to me that literally any deck can play this card. It's just decks that aren't supposed to have this kind of removal can play it. And I hope that I'm not making just huge misevaluation here, but to me, like, a land that can do this and go in literally any deck. I don't even care if it sees much play in Standard. It's Commander playable until we all die, and then beyond that, you know, this is just an insane card to me, and so far it looks like the most impactful across formats of any card we've seen so far. Really, I could talk about this card all day, but the video's already kind of running long, I think. I don't have a timer on my camera or anything, so I have no idea how long I go on in these videos. But for a video that's only like 7 cards long, I think we're getting pretty late into the evening here. But in any case, I could do a whole 1-hour thing about this card. I absolutely I'm just in awe of it. I'm stunned that they printed this thing. I think it might actually be a mistake, even though both putting counters on it is expensive and activating it is relatively expensive too. They have tried the best they could to design their way out of this being a mistake, and I'm still not convinced. Honestly, the card just looks so bonkers to me. So we'll see. We'll see. But again, even if it doesn't see real competitive play, because there might be better options, or who knows. I really don't know how to dismiss this seeing competitive play. I'm pretty sure that it will. Like 99.9% sure that this sees playing a bunch of standard decks, if nothing else. But again, EDH players, this is your card from this set, in a set full of cards for you. This one's for you. Anyway, I think I'm done talking about Blast Zone for now. I'm sorry for like holding you hostage for 5 minutes talking about stuff that triggers me and whatever. You know, I'm sorry that people just saying, oh yeah, but Stifle, Nimble Obstructionist. Like, I don't know why it triggers me the way it does. But like, I guess it's because like you knew what they were saying, right? Like you knew what they were trying to say. That happens so much. In any case, I think that I'm done for now. I think I could maybe come back on here later tonight and talk about Blast Zone for another half an hour. But in any case, I think I've got it all out of my system for the time being. So let me know how you felt about all these cards down there in the comments section. I'm going to turn it over to you. Am I totally wrong about Blast Zone and it's terrible? I don't see how you can make that point. But like, hey, hit me with it. Who knows? Who knows? But let me know how you felt about these. Am I appropriately excited about Oath of Kaya, or is it actually a terrible card? Let me know your thoughts. I'm interested. I read your comments. Aside from that, like the video if you got the time to do it. It's only like that, and it really helps me out. So if you don't have any other way of helping me out, just hit the like button. It really helps. You can also subscribe, maybe the most important thing, because we're coming up on the end of spoiler season now, getting into the lists, pre-release guide, deck techs, all that. Stick around for that if you would, please. It would mean a lot to me. It's what I do best. So subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Hit the bell for the notifications. Hit up the Patreon if you have $1 a month. It's really all I ask. You'll help vote on what decks we do all season long. If you want that kind of raw, absolute power, just throw $1 into the Patreon. Every little bit helps, and I appreciate everyone who's done that so far this month. A lot of new patrons. You are all awesome. Thank you very much. Seriously, thank you. But aside from that, go over to TCG Player. They help sponsor my content, and they're where you're going to get these cards on pre-order for the lowest price. Even if you don't order anything, just use them as a price guide. We don't have Inquest anymore, so they're a pretty good price guide or a barometer for how people are feeling about these cards. Plus, you can still get boxes on pre-order for less than $100. Check out TCG Player. Aside from that, though, pretty sure I'm done for this one. Pretty sure I'm done. So I will catch you guys later. I'm Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, my wizards. Spread love and be kind.